All right. Oh, that caught me by surprise. I was just thinking I had about 30 minutes, 30 seconds or to a minute, and I didn't. And it was all of a sudden it was like, showtime, go live. That's what it was saying on the software. So here I am. Anyway, so I will keep today. Nothing majorly to share over the last week. I think August is a little bit more of a quiet time, or certainly has been for me. And I think combined with the move means there's been a couple of things I need to get back into the flow with. But I'm all geared up, ready for September, which is good, which is exciting because I like to be focused. I like to know where I'm heading. A couple of things I worked out yesterday in terms of some of the things I want to test. I want to test, for example, doing some workshops and things. And I'm thinking of doing those as maybe, well, I'm going to test them. I'm going to test like, 1 day events, 2 day events and run them as virtual events. Like I miss the teaching aspect. I miss the audience aspect of that. And I thought it'd be a really cool way to see if one, I can share some valuable material in a way where it's kind of immersive. So people can get, very much spend a decent chunk of time in it. Like if you got 2 days with me, you can actually work on something and make some significant progress in that time. So it's like a short sprint, and then obviously then you get it implemented and you see the results from it ongoingly. That's the idea anyway. So I'm going to be testing that. It ties in with my sort of subtle shifts, I guess, or more, more awareness of myself. One of the key things in business is to play to your strengths, and that really means understanding yourself. Now, of course, that doesn't happen in one hit, and it's an evolution. Things evolve. Things always evolve. Things need to evolve. Let's put it that way. Your business needs to evolve. You evolve. So as I become more aware of my strengths, what I want to be doing and how I want to get my messages out, then the idea of doing sprints, so it's like short bursts of focus, and then being able to then spend more time doing other things, maybe researching, reading, kind of pulling together more material so I can come up with new ideas. That's very appealing to me. That suits me. So I'm looking at finding better ways to do that, but of course also maintaining the growth of my businesses. So I don't want to see anything lost because of those shifts. So it's more about combining that freedom and flexibility, I guess, and more fun into what I do. Because I think, obviously the more fun I'm having, the more fun then I assume that my customers and clients are going to have because of it, because of the impact of my own energy on them, if you like. So today I thought we would talk about finding your audience online. There is a lot in this. A couple of things that have prompted this. One is, a client who has, seen an ad that's been working tremendously well for a number of months now. So, and I'm a big fan of ads that work for a longer period of time. I don't, and maybe I'll do a live stream on that at some point in terms of my thinking around how I develop ads so that they don't just kind of work for a couple of days, but they work ongoingly. But nothing lasts forever. So, of course, we're beginning to see ad fatigue with this particular ad. So we need new creatives. We also need new ways of reaching new audiences. So that triggered my thinking about this and the whole concept of reaching audiences. Then combined with that, in one of the groups that I'm in, Johnny Hates Marketing, so shout out to Johnny. In his group, he's got a good group, good strong cohort of coaches and so on in there. And it's interesting because some of the things that have come up this week about people trying to find their ideal clients and reaching out to them and actually first of all, defining them, but secondly, once they've defined them, how do they actually reach out to them? So that also triggered my thinking around, okay, audience is an important thing. But I will come back to ultimately what actually makes the difference is your pitch. So although today I'm going to talk about audiences and ways of finding your audiences, the only real reason you narrow down who you're trying to reach is obviously to give you for the most part, a more effective and efficient way of making sales. So, if you've got a decent pitch, but you could actually reach the whole world all at once, it's a bit like TV, for example. TV isn't particularly targeted, or certainly wasn't in the early days. You go back like 20, 30 years when we had like 3 channels, then obviously it wasn't that targeted. But we had, in terms of who had a TV, TV penetration in that respect was very high. I think something like 80, 90%. So you could reach the whole of the UK through well, I guess one channel that was commercial and would allow you to advertise. So in that respect, you could reach a lot of people. So then it's really not about who's your ideal client. It's more about who does this appeal to, in terms of being able to then, if everybody's watching it, which people respond. That's the interesting part. That's the bit you're interested in. That's the bit you want, because they're the people who become your customers. So the whole point of coming online and then saying, okay, we got a vast audience, we got billions of people. From an advertising point of view, of course, you don't want to spend money on people that are pointless to you, because, of course, that's just wasted money. That's wasted resource. And that could be incredibly expensive, to the point where your advertising campaign and your pitch cannot keep up, as in they cannot generate enough revenue to allow you to continue to advertise. And that's a major problem. So part of the reason that this whole concept of ideal clients, defining avatars, and then targeting people specifically, or targeting groups of people specifically, came about to make things more efficient. Part of the challenge with that is, and I hear this in the language people use, in the sense of saying we want to find like which audiences respond the best. My take on that is slightly different. I think there's more nuance to it. I don't think it's as binary as, oh, I want to sell X, let me find these people. And I'll tell you where this came from. This week I was talking to somebody, and they'd mentioned that, they're running a workshop. They'd done it for free. And when they'd done it for free, they'd put it out to their group, and they got quite a lot of people responded, a couple hundred people, which is great. Now they're wanting to do it paid. Excuse me. And they've only got a few people registered. And it's like, okay, look, this isn't an audience problem. This is a pitch problem. So I want you to understand, I'm putting a frame around this, a caveat around this, that from my experience, the pitch makes the biggest difference. Finding your audience helps you narrow down the people most likely to be interested in what you're offering, so that you can be more effective and more efficient with your ad spend, or if you're doing it organically, with the time you invest in terms of finding people to put your stuff in front of. Okay, so let's kind of get into this, and I'll just let whatever my brain goes take us wherever it goes, and we'll think this through. So that's kind of like the why, I guess, the why of why you want to target, why you want to be more zeroed in on the right people. Beyond that, you got to understand, and I'm going to talk organic and paid advertising, because I think there's valuable lessons in both, whether you advertise or not. Because one, if you understand organic better, then it helps you with your targeting on paid. If you understand paid better, it helps you with the overall picture of how you find the right people and how you find the people you want to reach in order to put your message in front of them. First of all, if you take YouTube as an example, then YouTube has a couple of ways you can think about your audience. So if you were to put together an avatar, so the whole point is, if you imagine, here's the whole world, and you want to filter that down to just the people that you believe, because in the beginning, this is best guess. I mean, certainly if you start with an audience like coaches or consultants, and then think about the problems they have, then you can say, okay, look, this is the solution to that problem. This should work. If you are more, and I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, if you're more broad than that, so for example, like cryptocurrency right now is hot, has been for a little while. And you go, well, who does cryptocurrency appeal to? Like, cryptocurrency doesn't fit into the standard, I guess, idea of here's an audience, they've got a problem, cryptocurrency solves it. Well, it does on one level. So if you go chunk up high enough, it does, because it kind of solves the problem of people wanting more money. People wanting more money more easily. Now, I don't know enough about crypto to determine how accurate that statement is, but that's the belief around it. So the idea is, like, something like cryptocurrency would potentially have extremely wide appeal. In other words, it has mass appeal, potentially. So who's the audience for that? Well, you could argue it's everybody with a pulse, or everybody with the ability to purchase whatever you want to sell them. And so that would be your only criteria, really. But of course, within that, you still chunk it down. Like, I would still chunk that down and think, okay, more entrepreneurial, people who are more ambitious. Not everybody really cares about money. Some people are completely happy with the level of income they've got, and they're just, or even if they're not happy, they don't really want to do anything about it, so it doesn't matter anyway. So you could talk about it in terms of, something with mass appeal. Then how do you narrow that down? And I was thinking about this because when I used to run the property events, then obviously I kept track of who came to the events. Now, of course, we narrowed down the audience by running an advert in a paid publication. So it wasn't online, it was very much in newspapers and magazines. And so the message, obviously, again, the magazine was a bit like, or the newspaper was a bit like TV in the early sort of 80s and 90s. It appealed to a broad number of people. I mean, the only thing you could say it would narrow down really was geography. It was like it was London mainly. So it was kind of looking at papers, London Standard and so on, which appealed to just London. It didn't appear anywhere else in the country. So it wasn't much of a filter. But then you'd write an ad and the message would filter out the people who read the paper, who were interested in what you've got to say. So then I used to then have to focus in on problems. So therefore, the way to reach those people was to focus in on a problem they have, even if they didn't think about that problem on a day-to-day basis. I got them to think about it, which would be, I'd say, for example, around retirement. Like, could they actually retire? So if I got them thinking about, are they actually on track to retire? Will whatever they've got in place actually pay them, whether it's a pension or otherwise? If I got them thinking about that problem, then that got their attention. Once I got their attention, then I can say, okay, we're going to do this free taster event. It's all about using property as a vehicle that you can control, that you can obviously build your financial freedom with. And then that got them in the room. So that was literally just a filter. But I began to look at the people who were coming in, and I began to notice the people from a conversion point of view. So in terms of who gave me my highest conversions, then people who were more entrepreneurially minded. Always. So what you would see is, and this was interesting because if you kind of go into time frames and hours of the day, typically we'd be running an event sort of 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and sort of 5:30 in the evening. So you've got 3 distinct time frames. The morning one, the 10 a.m., tended to be the lowest attendance. Naturally, it makes sense. More people are probably at work or doing other things at that time. But the people that came to that were the people that had more time on their hands. So they tended to be business owners. And so they would be quite high converters because they were already entrepreneurially minded. They already were then looking at and appraising whether this as a vehicle, like property in that case, was something they could do alongside what they were already doing, or as a vehicle to leverage the money they were making in their business. So they were very high conversions. People in the afternoon, similar. You tended to get more entrepreneurial type people. I also noticed that people who were coaches were good target prospects because, again, they're coaching, they're self-employed, they are wanting to generate a full-time income from their coaching, or, and this was the other way they thought about it as I began to realize and built this into my pitch, that they'd go, look, I mean, they're a coach because they want to make an impact, so they want to reach people. A lot of coaches don't necessarily make a great income from doing that because they don't know how to market themselves effectively, but they could see that something like property would give them the facility to have an impact in their coaching and use property as their primary money vehicle. Excuse me. So that was also interesting. So if you apply that thinking, then in the evening, of course, you tended to get the people who are employed. So they would be overall the lowest converting because people who are employed, if you were to psychologically profile them, and again, this is sweeping generalizations. I'm not saying this is how all people are, but you would probably find that people are more likely to be risk averse if they're employed than self-employed. Because, of course, someone who's self-employed is dealing with more uncertainty in terms of they've taken on the role of doing a number of different roles to generate an income for themselves. Whereas someone who's employed obviously gets paid by an employer. They turn up, they have a good day, they have a bad day, they still get paid. So that's a sweeping generalization. So I think because of that, we then saw less people. I mean, we certainly saw some, and within the employed group, older people tended to be like older as in 40s and 50s, tended to be the people that would do more, would buy the programs, because of course they had a more urgent need. Like if you're in your 20s and someone's saying to you, do you have a pension? Is it going to pay for your retirement? In your 20s, you're probably not even thinking about retirement. But of course, if you're in your 40s and 50s, especially, or you've got a family and you're in your 50s, then you probably are thinking about it. And you're probably thinking, yes, I've got these things that these investments have been paying into. Maybe you check them because you saw my message and discover that actually, they're not worth what you thought they're going to be worth. They're not going to give you the lifestyle you thought you were going to get. So now you definitely need something else. And just as a quick aside, I believe that is one of the big reasons that we have seen the beginnings and the growth of the entrepreneurial revolution. But that's that aside. So coming back to online then, how are you going to target people online? So think of it in these terms. Think in terms of problems people are facing. Think in terms of their awareness of the problem they are facing. So if this comes from, what's he called? Can't think of his name. Wrote the book back in I think it was the 50s or 60s. Breakthrough Advertising. Eugene Schwartz. Eugene Schwartz kind of articulated this, categorized this. But he talked about marketplaces being completely unaware through to most aware. And in that unaware, aware, you can categorize people as an awareness of their problem, an awareness of that solutions exist to their problem, an awareness that your specific solution exists to their problem. Does that make sense? So, somebody going, okay, look, let's say, go back to my property example. Let's say somebody completely independent it was kind of one of those kind of people that had been paying into some sort of investment fund for their retirement, and was also the kind of person, there are less of these people, surprisingly, who actually check their statements every year. So let's say they get a pension statement and they check it and they go, okay, it's worth this much. I've been paying this much. It's all good. Most people, as I found out, will get those statements, used to get them through the post from the pension companies, and would just put them in a drawer. They never actually looked at them. So they had no idea. They just had an absolute belief that this fund was going to pay for their retirement. That was it. They felt that because they were paid into it, that was all that mattered. It was going to support them in retirement. And that wasn't necessarily the case. The small print always says investments can go down as well as up. So they need to take that into account. Of course, there's fees that the companies take. So you need to take that into account as well. So it isn't an absolute given, which is why, you have financial advisors and you get great advice and all this sort of stuff. But a lot of people haven't looked at it. But let's say somebody was fairly meticulous in this regard. So they had independently, they got a statement that year. They'd looked at it and gone, this isn't growing as much as I wanted it to. If it doesn't grow as much as I'm expecting to next year or the year after, this isn't going to pay for my retirement, or it's going to give me a very limited retirement. What should I do? And then maybe the next morning they were on the tube and they coming home on the tube and they bought the Evening Standard and they opened it up and they saw my advert and they said, oh, I should go along to that. So that's someone who's become problem aware because they just happen to pay attention to their investments. And then has gone, I don't know there's a solution. I don't know what to do about it, but they're now thinking I've got a problem. So therefore they're thinking I would like a solution. Is there one? Do I just have to live with this? Is this just how it's going to be? Maybe that was their first thought. Maybe they thought, okay, this is how these things work. Maybe I just have to accept the fact that my retirement's not going to be as great as I wanted it to be. Maybe they thought that. But then the next morning, they see an advert that completely calls out to that exact problem that they just realized they've got. So now they've gone from problem aware to, there's potentially a solution. Now, at the same time, they would notice now they become aware of me. They become aware of, the company. They become aware of these things. So they come to the taste event. As soon as they come to the taste event and they see me on stage and they listen to me, now they're absolutely aware that I exist and that I have a solution for them. Now, if someone is completely unaware and we come online. So what are the three primary ways we can find somebody online? We can target them by what they search for. So we got keywords. And think about keywords in terms of someone's level of awareness. If someone is completely unaware, are they coming onto Google or whatever search engine they're using these days and typing something in to solve a problem? No, because they're completely unaware. They've got no reason to type anything in. So in order to reach people who are completely unaware, you're not going to do that through keywords because they're not going to be typing anything. Does that make sense? So I need to understand that concept because it's an important concept. The people that you can find are people that are, through keywords, they are typing something into a search engine. What are they typing in? So this will depend on, are they problem aware? In which case they might be saying, they might type in, I go back to my example, I'm just making this stuff off the top of my head, so I don't know how accurate it is in terms of keywords, but it's just for illustrative purposes. Let's say they come onto a search engine and they just type in pension losing money, something like that. And they see whatever comes up. And maybe then they go, so now they're starting to do some research. Maybe they see something which calls out to them, which says, is your pension not going to pay you what you thought it was going to pay? And they go, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So now I've found that person. by matching my message to their problem based on the kind of keywords they would type in. So they are typing in effectively, if you like, if we were going to categorize them, problem type keywords or key phrases, I should say. So that's keywords. That's one way of finding them. They might have gone a little bit further. And this was really the whole idea of like long tail keywords, which became very popular probably 15, 20 years maybe now, when it first kind of as a concept came out. The idea that, you know, people typing in fish tank didn't mean anything. That wasn't a buyer keyword. And this is where I have this thing about the pitch. It's like, it's all about the pitch. If someone's typing in fish tank, I guarantee if your pitch is good enough, you're going to get some buyers. But this whole concept came out that no, someone typing in fish tank, that's not a buyer keyword. Someone typing in, I don't know who makes fish tanks. Let's say Acme fish tank model V2730 in Chrome with Bluetooth extension. That's a very long keyword. And so in this concept of long keywords, it'd be like, okay, well, that person is looking to buy because they've already reached a conclusion on exactly the model they want to buy. Now they're just typing it in to see who's got the best price. And that's very true. It is very likely they are doing that. So they've gone from problem aware. They've done some research. They've become aware of the different solutions. So in this case, maybe different types of fish tank. They've narrowed in on one that they want to the specific model number. And now they're looking for that model to see who's got effectively the best price. Because all things being equal, people will go with the cheapest price. So if they're buying fish tanks, then obviously if it's a particular model, then whoever sells that model, that's equal. That's all the same, unless you make the offer more compelling, of course, which brings you back to the pitch. But from a fish tank point of view, they're all the same. So they're going to go with, I can get the fish tank here for £200 or $200, but I can get it over here for $150. Who are they going to go with? I'm going to go over here. So that's one way. So think of it in terms of the types of keywords and where you need to target to reach the people you want to reach. Now, what I will say is, it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I want the people that are searching for the exact model because I can give them that model and I can, make a better offer, whatever. But they've already reached a decision at that point. Whereas if they're typing in problem-focused keywords, they haven't made any decisions. They've just decided, I want to find out if there are solutions to this. So which is more easy to influence? Someone who's decided on the specific model or someone who's still in the research phase? Someone who's still in the research phase. So in terms of how you find your people, you can find your people by three ways. One is demographics. So that would be age, income level, geography. So all of those kind of things which are tangible facts. This person is this age, this person is this gender, this person is this ethnicity, although you can't really talk about ethnicity anymore because, of course, that's considered not appropriate. So there's all these, but they're all demographic things that are relevant. People don't tend to type in their demographics as a keyword. What they type in are things they're looking for. So you can target people by their interests. So that would be like on Facebook. So social media, we go from keywords to interests. So if you're on Facebook, you don't really search on there by keywords. I mean, you type something in, but what you type in are the things that you believe your audience are interested in. So again, if I was looking for coaches, then I would be on Facebook. And because of the nature of the platform, I would be thinking about groups. So Facebook is brilliant for groups. There are, at this point, Facebook is a mature platform. It's a sophisticated platform. So there will be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of groups relevant to a given set of interests. So I'd be searching for those. You can also then think of it in terms of people your audience would follow. So, if we take a simple example, personal development space, if someone's in the personal development space, who are they likely to follow? Well, they're potentially like to follow Tony Robbins. He's probably the most well-known person in the personal development space. There's a good chance they're looking. So if I went on Facebook and typed in Tony Robbins, I'm pretty sure there would be 1,001 groups that come up all related to Tony Robbins. And I could pick and choose through those. If I was looking for people that were interested in property, I could literally type in real estate or property investment, and I'm pretty sure I'd come up with 2001 different groups that I could then go and look at, join potentially, and start to engage in to find my audience. So that's another way of thinking about it. This gets a little bit different if you go in from, well, I can target that interest on the group level, but if you go into Facebook's advertising platform, the Ads Manager, you can't necessarily target that group inside the Ad Manager. Like, they don't allow you to target by group. Not yet, anyway. So then you'd have to change your thinking to go, okay, organically I can reach these groups. I can join the groups. I can comment in them. And as a strategy, you could potentially encourage these people to come to your own group so that you start collecting them in one place. As a paid approach, you would do what I do, which is I'd go, okay, who are the people in this group? What do they all have in common? And I would just randomly pick X number of people. So I might give myself, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I usually get a sense of who they are in that time. And so I'd probably go through about 20, 30 people. And I'd go and look at their profiles as much as they can. Like, obviously not everybody's going to, depending on the privacy settings people have, but I get enough. All I'm looking for is patterns. So, like, for example, beginning of the year, I was looking through somebody's group and I noticed that one, it was predominantly female. So straight away, I can target that. And secondly, they were females, they were female coaches. And as I started to look at their profiles, like individual people, so a bit like online stalking, I guess, but I was just looking at their profiles. So looking at their profiles and seeing what they were interested in. So if you looked on their profile, their pages, what did they have an interest in? So what groups were they also a part of? So was there any commonality there? What else did they like? So what pages did they like? What else did they follow? And in doing that, I noticed, one of the things I noticed was that quite commonly, all of these women were interested in Brené Brown. So they all followed Brené Brown, who's a well-known, female coach, did a whole TED Talk on vulnerability, and that skyrocketed her celebrity status and so on. So she became well-known that way. And it was like, okay. And it turned out I could target Brené Brown on Facebook's advertising platform. So immediately I had a way of reaching those people because I could target that inside the ad platform. Now, as another example, I could have said, okay, they're all got an interest in someone else. But then when I've gone into the ad platform, I can't target that person as an interest in the ad platform. Does that make sense? So what you're looking for is trying to find this overlap between interests that your audience would share, and then can I target them? Or if I can't target them directly, how else can I target them? So let me go back to keywords. Keywords are relevant, say, on YouTube. And you can target, like, obviously organically, you can put in keywords. And from a paid advertising point of view, you can put in keywords. What's also interesting is if you take the idea of interest. So if I'm not sure what sort of things people are going to be searching for from a keyword point of view, but I do know they have certain common interests. How do I target those interests? Because people don't tend to type in their interests as keyword phrases, although that would be worth checking. But what I can do on YouTube is look at videos and look at video channels. So if I'm looking for people who are more entrepreneurial, then I'll look for more entrepreneurial video channels on YouTube because there's a good chance I can target them. Because you can target by placement. In other words, you can target a channel or you can target an individual video. So if I go, oh, here's a video which I know is like motivational and very appealing to entrepreneurial type people, then I might test targeting that video with my advert. Does that make sense? That's another way to find people. So you're not doing it by problem. In that case, you're doing it by interest. And the way you're translating the interest into something you can target is by looking at video placements. Does that make sense? So think of it in terms of who is my audience? What are they interested in? What problems do they have? What are they like demographically? And then you're going, okay, which of those can I actually target on the given platform? So which of those can I target on YouTube? Which of those can I target on Facebook? So you've got to translate. It's like this filter effect where you're kind of dovetailing. Here's what I know about my audience. Here's the books they read, the things they're interested in. Here's what the age group is. Here's what the gender is. Here's how I then translate that as best I can, best fit, because it's unlikely to ever be perfect, best fit into whatever the platform gives me as options to target. So organically, what can I do on YouTube? I can target with keywords. And then through paid advertising, what can I target? I can target through keywords. I can target through placements. And that can be video placements, channel placements. So you get all of those things. Now, of course, once you've got some data, then you can analyze the data and you can say, okay, actually, the people that are buying are these types of people. And then you've got even more options, because that's where the paid side really starts to shine. That's where, particularly with, Google inside YouTube, they'll start to give you all sorts of other audiences. They already have, if you like, built-in audiences. And so you start to see that, Google will tell you if these people are all your buyers. So obviously you need your goals and everything set up correctly so you can see that. These people are all your buyers. Then Google will start saying, well, these people have an affinity with this audience. So they're more likely to fit into that audience. So you go, okay, that's a way of expanding the number of people you can reach. That's more to do with scale than anything else. But just to summarize, I'm going to keep this at 30 minutes. Just to summarize, this is very much about understand who you want to reach first, understand the problems they face, understand the demographics as much as you can, understand the things they are likely to be interested in. In the beginning, this is best guess. If you're dealing with a problem that you want to solve for other people that you yourself have faced, what are you interested in? That's a good starting point. Then, from a research point of view, start looking at videos on YouTube. So think about what you would type in with that. Like, you can use the interest as a keyword to see what videos come up and go, are those videos relevant? Are the people that I'm trying to reach likely to be watching those videos? If you're doing it organically, then you could actually go into the video and have a look at some of the keywords that the video is targeting, because that will obviously give you keywords you can use to start developing content for. Secondly, if you're in paid adverts on YouTube, then you can do it through saying, okay, these videos are relevant. I can target these exact videos. You can also look at when a video comes up, obviously you get a whole bunch of recommended videos. You can look at those as well, because that, again, is YouTube, the algorithm giving you clues as to what else your people are interested in. So it gives you more opportunity to reach them. From a problem point of view, what problems might they type in as key phrases? So think about that and start looking for volume on those, or other ways. Like if you type in as something, then obviously YouTube and Google will give you other keywords that they believe are related to what you're typing in. So look at that as well. So that expands your research and gives you more ways to find people. If you are more platform specific, obviously Facebook is all about interest. So you can target groups. You can look in groups organically and pull out more information that way. And then the other platform I haven't mentioned, the only platform I haven't mentioned really is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a little different in that you can obviously search for people you want to connect with, and you can search by job titles. So LinkedIn is more focused on kind of, I guess, more corporate, although having said that, it's still filled with coaches of all descriptions, business coaches, life coaches, and so on. And you can still obviously reach out and connect with them. And then it's really that allows you to find your audience. Then in terms of getting their attention, obviously you got messaging options and you've got content options. It's like put out content that appeals to them. So hopefully that kind of gives you 3 simple ways. So you've got keywords, interests, placements. Those, I'd say, are your 3 primary ways of reaching people. And applying that to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'm going to wrap up because I think I've said enough. And also, I'm feeling a little bit queasy, to be fair. Not something you want to hear. Maybe that's too much information, but I think I ate something didn't quite agree with me yesterday. So I'm going to wrap up. Hopefully you find this useful. Leave me any comments below. Leave me any questions below. Obviously, this was just me kind of thinking things through and kind of giving you ideas based on my experiences. So leave any comments. If you've got anything you want to ask, then please ask. I will answer it. And if you've enjoyed this, please share it with others. If you're not a member of the Strategic Rebel group, then come and join Facebook. Even if you hate Facebook, the group function is brilliant. It allows us to engage. It allows me to answer your questions and queries more quickly, and I kind of offer guidance and coaching that way, all for free. So I will see you in the group. Other than that, I will talk to you next time. If you're on YouTube, by the way, please remember to subscribe. Appreciate that. And again, watch the video back again. If you would, that also helps boost my visibility on YouTube, which means I can do more of these, which means I can obviously provide more content. All right. I will say bye. Take it easy. Have a great weekend. And keep staying focused, keep moving forward, keep impacting people, keep making more money. You deserve it. All right. Take care.